Welcome everyone. Today we will learn how to implement a mediator caching behavior using Redis Cloud in a .NET API. So go to the Redis pricing details website to create a new database. Select the essentials tier to create a free database. So create the account. Now in the database section, create a new one. Scroll down, select the essentials tier, define the database name, the cloud vendor, the region, and in the high availability settings, select none to enable the free database instance with 30 megabytes. Create the database. Now go to GitHub to download the sample code for this demo. Clone the repository, open a new terminal and type git clone. Open the solution in Visual Studio. This project is based on a clean architecture scheme with a core layer which contains the application and domain projects, the infrastructure layer with the persistence project and the API. So the first step is to add the Redis connection string in the add settings.json. So add a new connection string section and add Redis. Go back to the database. In the public endpoint, we'll click connect to get the connection string. The Redis client, select .NET and copy this string. Paste it here and replace the password. How to get password? Close the window and scroll down. And in security section, click or copy the default user password. Replace the asterisk with the password. Second step is to install the NuGet package for the caching service. So in the application layer, go to manage NuGet packages and browse Redis. Install the second one. The third step is to add the caching service. So expand the application project and go to the application installers. Here in this static method called services that add stack is change Redis cache to register the caching service. And in the options, pass the corresponding connection string in the configuration property. So to access the connection string value from the add-settings.json, inject the configuration interface and call get connection string by passing the name. The next step is to create an interface which will be an ICacheableRequest. Basically, any request that implements this interface will invoke the caching behavior. So in the interfaces folder, add the ICacheableRequest, which will be an interface, and it will contain a single property for the catch key. And now the next step is to create the caching behavior. So in the application project, add a new class called caching behavior. This caching behavior will implement the iPipeline behavior from MediatR, which takes the two generic parameters for the request and the response, add the generic types in the class, and add the constraint that the request should implement the ICacheableRequest defined earlier in order to call the caching behavior method. So implement the interface and add the corresponding logic to handle caching from Redis Cloud. So in the class, we'll inject the distributed cache to get access to the methods to handle caching. So add read-only field. And in the handle method, the first step is to get the cache items from Redis Cloud. So we'll call cache.getAsync by passing the key, which comes from the request, and the cancellation token. So if cache items is null, we'll get the items from an external source, such as a database, and store the items in Redis Cloud. So get the items from the corresponding handler. So how to invoke the corresponding handler for this request? By invoking the next method, and then we'll catch the items from the external source by calling cache.setAsync. In the parameters, we have the key of the request, then the catch items expressed in a byte array. So we will use encoding.eft8 and get device from the serialized response from the serialized items. So call JSON serializer that serialize the items we get from the external source and define a caching strategy. Now let's add an expiration-based caching strategy to create a new distributed cache entry options class and create an absolute expiration relative to now and add time span that add a default expiration time as 30 seconds and finally pass the cancellation token. Finally, return the items from the external source. If we have the items in the cache, we'll return the cache items. So we'll deserialize the cache items and pass the response as the generic type. This is the simple caching behavior logic. Now, how to apply? Open the Solution Explorer and register this caching behavior. Okay, so open the application installers and add the caching behavior as a scope. The service type will be pipeline behavior and the implementation will be our caching behavior. Now we will apply this caching behavior in a handler we have in the application layer called GetProducts. The idea is to get the products from an external source. We have this repository of products and we invoke this method. Go to the implementation. This repository is located in the persistence layer and we get 10 hard-coded products simulating a database. So the idea is to catch the results from this repository. So to add that behavior, we just simply implement the ICacheableRequest in the GetProductsRequest. Implement the interface, which includes the key. So add the key, and now this request will invoke the caching behavior. Go to the program.cs file to add an endpoint and test this caching behavior. So in the minimal API, add an endpoint to get the products, inject the iMediator interface to call the GetProductsHandler by calling mediator.send and create a new GetProductsRequest to invoke the corresponding handler. And don't forget in the application services static class to pass the configuration interface, which contains the addSettings.json values. Now test the application at a breakpoint in the GetProductsHandler, which returns the products from an external source and in the caching behavior to analyze the flow. So execute the endpoint and it will invoke the caching behavior because the request implements the ICacheableRequest. So get the products from Redis cloud is null, so we will get the items from the external source by invoking the GetProductsHandler. We get the products, we transform the products in a product DTO by selecting the name and the price, and then we will set the products in cache with an expiration-based caching strategy of 30 seconds. Let's return the items, execute again. The next time we have the cache items, so we'll deserialize the response from Redis cache and let's wait a couple of seconds, test the expiration-based time. Okay, execute the endpoint again and now cache items is null. The expiration or the caching strategy is working fine. So stop the application and now let's implement a second caching strategy called cache invalidation. So when a product is updated from the external source, we will invalidate the cache. We will remove the key associated to the request. So how to do that? Go to the program.cs file and add a second endpoint, which will be a post to simulate that we are updating the products. And then using the iDistributed cache, we'll call the removeAsync method to remove the data from a specified key. So if we update any product, we'll just simply call cache.removeAsync by passing the key. As you remember, the key was products, add the await and async keywords, and that's it. We're invalidating the products from Redis Cloud and get the products again from the external source. So let's test the implementation, but before that, go to the caching behavior and replace the expiration-based time as 10 minutes execute the application and invoke the fetch endpoint. It will return the products from the external source. So far, so good. Execute again. But now it's not executing the breakpoint in the handler because we're getting the products from the Redis cloud. Now, scroll down and execute the post method to update the products. Execute. Now get the products again, and it will execute the breakpoint because we're getting the products. We're invalidating the cache because we're updating the products from the external source. So far, so good. Execute again. We're getting the products from the Redis cloud. So in this demo, we will learn how to implement a mediator caching behavior using Redis cloud in a .NET API.